In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to do every single bridging method. When I first started out bridging, I looked through a lot of tutorials and it took way too much time. So without wasting any of your time, let's get into this. Okay, so the first bridging methods I'm going to go over are slow bridging and speed bridging. Now most of you probably already know how to do these, so I'm going to make this quick. For slow bridging, you're going to want to hold down S and D, look towards the side of the island, and then hold down right click to start placing blocks. And if you bridge the other way, you're going to want to hold down A and S instead. But slow bridging is super simple and you can jump wherever you want without any issues. The next bridging method is speed bridging. Now for this one, you want to do slow bridging, but you unshift at the start of where you place a block, and then reshift at the end. This will skip the short pause where you're not placing any blocks, and it makes your bridging a lot faster. You can speed bridge while holding down right click, or you can time the clicks individually. And if you want to go faster, then I suggest you time the clicks, but if you want to be incredibly consistent, then you can hold down the right click. I recommend practicing speed bridging one block at a time, because once you've got one block down, you just need to repeat it. And I also think it's worth mentioning that Schnellar Bridging exists. Schneller basically means faster in German, and it looks like this. It's basically just an incredibly fast speed bridge. To do this, you basically want to minimize the shift time as much as possible, since shifting slows you down. And if you double click for each block, it also makes it a lot easier. Alright, now I'm going to show you guys how to breezily bridge. For starters, you're going to need a drag clicking mouse, preferably a bloody or Roccat mouse. Personally, I think Roccat's a lot better than bloody, which is why for breezily bridging, I'll be using the Roccat Kone Pro. For breezily bridging, you'll need to know how to drag click, which is basically where you drag your finger across the mouse button, which creates a bouncing effect, and it gives you a lot of clicks in a short amount of time. And now that you know how to drag click, you're going to want to line yourself up on the edge of the island, this time only using the S key. And you'll basically want to strafe side to side across the bridge while using the A and D keys, but while still holding down the S key. And while you're strafing back and forth, you're basically going to want to time your drag clicks to place blocks. If this is your first time trying to breezily, it's definitely easier said than done, but I recommend you practice the keystrokes to get those in your muscle memory, and then you add the drag clicking after. And it's not a requirement to jump for breezily bridging, but you can, and it's not really that hard. Also, if your fingers are too sweaty and it's making your drag clicking inconsistent, then I suggest turning on the fan because it really helps. And the next bridging method I'm going to teach you how to do is moonwalking. It's slightly faster than breezily bridging, but also a little bit harder. For moonwalking, you can either drag click or double click, and if you already know how to drag click, I strongly encourage you to do that. You'll want to line up on the edge of the island where you want to bridge, and then you're going to hold down S and tap D over and over again. And of course, if you bridge the other way, you're going to want to tap A instead. Now this bridging method does have a tricky rhythm to get down, but you'll want to alternate your taps with your drag clicks. And once you've mastered the rhythm of moonwalking, you just need to practice to build more consistency. And now we're on to the GB, which is in my opinion the best bridging method. It's a lot faster than speed bridging, but it's not as risky as something like Tellybridging, which means you can pull it off in Bed Wars games really consistently. But unlike breezily and moonwalking, you have to jump every 7 or 8 blocks or else you'll fall off the bridge. But let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is line yourself up on the side of the island, and this time you'll want to hold S and D like you're about to speed bridge. And you're going to want to aim towards the top of the block since that makes the bridging a lot easier. And then you'll want to do 7 drag clicks with this timing. It'll take some practice to get this timing done, but once you've done that, you're ready for the hard part, the jump. Once you've done the first 7 or 8 blocks, you'll want to do a tiny pause, and then do a slightly longer drag click and repeat. It'll look like this. You can drag click with or without holding the mouse, and I recommend trying to learn to bridge while holding the mouse, because once you've mastered it, it'll make your bridging a lot more consistent. And while practicing, I recommend playing without any audio, so you can visually see when to drag click. But there's not really anything else to this bridging method, just try and practice for at least 10 minutes every day, because then subconsciously you'll be thinking about the timing a lot more throughout the day, and you'll learn how to do this bridging method much faster. The next bridging method I'm going to teach you how to do is one of the hardest. I'm going to show you how to tellybridge. For tellybridging, you'll need to meet 3 very important requirements to even be able to attempt this bridging method. You'll need a drag clicking mouse, preferably a lightweight one. You'll need to be able to drag click at least 20 CPS while moving the mouse. And you'll need to set your calendar to not touch grass for the next month or 2 because this bridging method takes a lot of practice to get down. And once you've met these 3 requirements, you're ready to start bridging. So, you'll want to get a full momentum jump, and while midair, you'll need to turn around 180 degrees, start holding S, and then long drag click to place blocks underneath your feet. When you go to clutch, your aim needs to start up pretty high and then go down as time goes on. But once you've clutched, you'll need to jump backwards one more time while continuously placing blocks. Then you'll want to turn around and get another full momentum jump and then repeat. I recommend trying to get as consistent as possible when it comes to hitting the first telly, because once you get that down, you can just do it over and over again. Now there's a number of different ways to practice tellybridging, but I'm going to show you the way I learned it. So if this is your first time tellybridging and you try and do the keystrokes, aim, and drag clicking all at once, what's going to happen is you're going to end up messing up over and over again, and then eventually you're going to get demotivated and quit. So to be successful, you're going to need to practice one part of Tellybridging at a time. And once you master all of those skills, everything will just fall into place. There's two main parts to Tellybridging. There's the keystrokes and aim, and then there's the drag clicking. I've linked to the download to a Tellybridging practice map in the description, and I recommend you practice the keystrokes and aim until you've got them into your muscle memory, and then you add the drag clicking after. But there's not really that much else to this bridging method. Just try and practice a little bit every day, and if you keep that consistency, everything should just work out. Oh boy, now we're going to talk about how to speed telly. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not great at this bridging method. The best I've done is 2 pretty bad speed tellies that were chained together. And since you stayed this far into the video, I'll be happy to teach you how to do it. And you know how I said if you want to learn Tellybridging, it's a requirement to not touch grass for 2 months? This time you'll need to set your calendar to like 6 months of no grass, because speed telling takes a lot of practice to get down. And when I do figure out how to do this bridging method, I'll make sure to do a video on it for you guys. But let's get started. You're going to want to start off with a 5-block telly. Now it doesn't matter how you start this telly, it just matters that you start it. And you'll want to jump out about 2 blocks by holding W. And while midair, you'll want to let go of W and quickly turn around 90 degrees by holding S and D. And then you're going to want to drag click to do a very precise clutch. The reason why speed tellying is so much faster than normal Tellybridging is because for normal tellies, you go 5 blocks out and 2 blocks up for every telly. But for speed tellying, you go 3 blocks out and 1 block up, but twice as often, which means you'll be placing more blocks per second by skipping the jump where you're only holding S. But the hardest part about speed tellying is actually the movement. The timing of the keystrokes can be really tricky to do consistently, and you have to have insanely good momentum. And this is where the practicing comes into play. There's actually also a practice map for speed Tellybridging, and if you do this map a little bit every day, then eventually you'll get the movement into your muscle memory, and again, you'll just need to add the drag clicking after. I cannot stress how important practicing one thing at a time is, because if you just try and do everything all at once, you'll fail 10 times as much as if you worked on the aim and movement first. Just try and stay consistent and practice a little bit every day. But that's pretty much all I've got for this video. Please consider scrolling down and dropping a quick like and maybe even subscribe. It helps out more than you'd think. Also, I'm aware I didn't cover every single bridging method, I just tried to stick to the main ones, but there may be a separate video for other bridging methods.